Good morning. Today we're going to be doing lesson 4 of the unit. Please be careful in the PDF packet of notes. This actually looks like lesson 5, but we're going to switch the order. All right, so this is the section of the notes that are up top here. All right. First thing is I've created a table for you of some notation. So f of x is your original function that you would be given. The first derivative is f prime of x, and in the past I've always sort of highlighted this in orange. Whenever we talk about f prime of x or y prime, also known as dy dx, this first derivative is always going to talk about the slope of the tangent line for any point on f of x. Right? So what we're saying here is f prime of x, the slope at whatever the x value is. New notation is what happens if I put two apostrophes in, f double prime, or in this case, f triple prime. You see that same idea modeled when we just use y, but notice the other notation, d2x, dx squared, d cubed y, dx cubed. Okay, all of these mean take the first derivative. The second derivative is simply taking the derivative of the previous. The third derivative is taking the derivative of whatever you found for f double prime. Right? So let's do our first example. I think you'll like this lesson a lot because it's very much rooted in just algebra and applying rules. When we take the first one, we have to do 3 separate calculations. The higher order derivatives are based on finding the lower ones. So the first one I'm going to do is f prime of x. Going through, this is a polynomial function, so I just need to use the power rule and maybe my rule for constants. 4 times 3 is 12, x to the third, minus 3 times 2 is x, squared, remember we always reduce the power by 1, plus 2x minus 4 plus 0. Right? I had an interesting question today that had to do with negative 4x. I taught it as a separate rule, just to get you to recognize the relationship graphically. However, if I come over here and I talk about negative 4x, remember the exponent is a 1. So if I use the power rule, I get negative 4 times 1 times x to the 1 minus 1. Negative 4x to the 0, anything to the 0 power is 1. So the derivative of negative 4x is just negative 4, but we can generate that from using the power rule. Anything plus 0 we don't need to worry about moving forward. F double prime of x is going to be multiply, subtract my power, multiply, subtract my power. We just went over that rule, and the derivative of a constant is 0. And now, as I find f triple prime, multiply, power rule, minus 12 plus 0. I've answered the question to find all 3 of them. Okay. So now, for example 2, find f double prime and f triple prime for this original function and evaluate f triple prime of negative 1. This question is designed to trick you, basically. No matter what, to get to f double prime and f triple prime, you need to find f prime. So we're going to do the work. So right here, you need f prime of x to find the higher derivatives. Even though they didn't explicitly ask for it, it's an interim step. So f prime of x is going to equal the derivative of here, 4x to the third plus 2 plus 18x to the negative 3. Now I just want to take a second and review this last term with you. Negative 9x to the negative 2. When I take the derivative, negative 9 times negative 2x, negative 2 minus 1. That's where I'm getting the positive 18x to the negative 3. This is not required as an answer, but it is required to come up with the answer for f double prime of x. Power rule. (18 times negative 3 is negative 54, x to the negative fourth. Okay, the plus 0 we can get rid of, and then we can find f triple prime of x. So when I find f triple prime of x, that's going to give me 24x plus 54 times negative 4 is 216, x to the negative fifth. Right? So these are the two answers I'm looking for the first part of the question. But now I'm asked to find f triple prime of negative 1. If we go back to our notation, function notation understanding from prerequisite, this is the name of the function. This is what we're plugging in. So I'm going to go to my f triple prime function that I've calculated, and I'm going to put in negative 1. Right? So when I do that, the easiest thing that I can do is I can take my calculator. I'm going to pull this into the video right now. Okay. Let's see if I can turn off the light. Maybe we can bring it over so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. And I'm going to plug in exactly what I have down here. 24 parentheses negative 1 plus 216 parentheses negative 1. Caret means raised to the, in this case, negative 5. And I could hit enter. And my answer is negative 240 is my f triple prime of negative 1. And actually I can write that here also, make that a negative 1. Okay.